So one of my favorite Warren Buffett quotes is be fearful when others are greedy and greedy when others are fearful. And I think we can all agree there's a lot of fear in the air right now. And with this fear comes opportunity. And in fact, the next few months may present to you the single greatest investment opportunity of your lifetime. So obviously buying the dip is on a lot of people's minds right now. But the big question is, when will we hit the bottom of this dip, and when should you start buying back into the market? So today we're going to take a look at a few past recessions as well as the most recent data about our current situation right now and try to answer those two questions. And at the end of this video, I'm going to share with you the investment strategy that I will personally be using in the upcoming months. But first, I do want to throw this out here that I am not a financial advisor. This is not financial advice. I'm just the guy on the internet who likes to research and think about things. So I want to start off by looking at the two most recent recessions in US history. So let's start off with the Great Recession from 2008 into 2009. And this recession took 511 days to go from the absolute top of the market to the absolute bottom of the market. And the Dow Jones dropped a total of 53% during that time. And it took 5 years, 121 days for the Dow Jones to reach that peak again. So now let's take a look at the 2001 recession, also known as the dot-com bubble. It took 997 days to go from the absolute top of the market to the absolute bottom of the market. And during that time, the Dow Jones dropped a total of 38% in value. And it then took 6 years, 119 days before the markets reached that all-time high again. So if we average out the time that it took to go from the all-time high to the all-time low of the past two recessions, we get 1,508 days. So if we applied that number to the current bear market that we're in, we would hit the all-time low March 7th, 2022. So if the last two recessions are any kind of indication of what we can expect with this one, we've got a good bit of time before we actually hit the all-time lows. And if we average out the percentage drop from the last two recessions, we get a drop of 45.5% from the all-time high. So if we apply that to our current market, that means the Dow Jones would drop from its all-time high of 29,500 to 16,100. And this is the equivalent to where the market was in December of 2013. Now, out of these two numbers, the average time that it took to go from the all-time high to the all-time low and the average percentage loss from the all-time high to the all-time low, I think that the percentage drop is a better indicator. And the reason for this is because we are currently dropping at a much, much faster rate than we ever have before. In the last two recessions, it took a few months to drop the same percentage that it took us only a few weeks to drop. Now, the last two recessions were caused by people in our country mismanaging their money. The 2008 recession was largely due to banks lending a tremendous amount of money to homeowners who really should not have qualified for that money in the first place. And the 2001 dot-com bubble was largely due to excess speculation around internet-related companies. So essentially a lot of investors throwing a lot of money at companies that they should not have been investing in. This recession is being caused by something completely different. Our entire society and economy is about to come grinding to a halt for several months. It's been about 100 years since we last experienced something like this. And many people are actually comparing this to the Great Depression rather than just a recession. So let's take a look at what the markets did during the Great Depression as well. So during the Great Depression, it took 3 years, 327 days to go from its all-time high to its all-time low. And the Dow Jones lost 90% of its value in that drop. And it then took 25 years, 129 days before the Dow Jones reached those all-time highs again. So if we experience something similar today, we would see the Dow Jones go from its all-time high of 29,500 down 90% to 2,900. This is equivalent to where the markets were in February of 1991. And if it took us the same amount of time to drop that much, we would not hit the bottom of the market until January 2024. So then the big question is, are we in a recession or are we in a depression? And I think it really comes down to how long we're going to be dealing with our current situation. And I was able to find two data points that may give us some kind of indication of how long this will last. China reported its first case in December of 2019, and right now in March of 2020, the number of new cases has finally plateaued at about 80,000 cases, and China will be allowing the workers to go back to their factories and businesses in the upcoming weeks. So they really experienced about 3 months of extreme disruption to their economy. However, I will say that being an authoritarian country, let's just say that their approach to containing this thing was much more aggressive than I believe Americans are willing to go. America reported its first case January 20th of 2020. If it also takes us 3 months to get some level of control over this thing, that means that we can expect this to be resolved at the end of April. If that is the case, then I think that could be a good indication of where the bottom of the market will land. However, in my personal opinion, I don't think we're going to be as aggressive in fighting this thing as China was, so I think it is going to take us a good bit longer to get some level of control over the situation. So let's say it took us twice as long. It took us 6 months to finally get a control over this thing and send our workers back to work. That means we would resolve this around July. So if we can get our economy back up and running in the next 3 to 6 months, I do think that we're only in a recession and that we'd expect to see the bottom of the market sometime in the next 3 to 6 months. Now, there is a new government report that was just released that may shed some light on how long they think we'll be dealing with this situation. And in that report, it says that this may last 18 months or longer and include multiple waves of this illness. So if it does last that long, with our first case being discovered in January of 2020, that means that this may go on until July 2021. And there is some other evidence out there as well to support this expectation. And that's the fact that many governors around the country have closed down schools, not for a few weeks or not for a few months, but for the rest of the school year. So to me, this indicates that the governors of our states are expecting this to go on for a pretty long time. So let me go over now what my personal investment strategy is going to be in the upcoming months. And I do want to point out that trying to find the absolute bottom of the market is a fool's game. It's virtually impossible. You do not know that you hit the bottom of the market until you're well past the bottom of the market. Likewise, you never know that you hit the peak of a market until you're well past the peak of the market. So personally, I'm going to be using a method known as dollar cost averaging. So with this method, instead of trying to invest all your money at once at the very bottom of the market, you instead invest your money periodically. So for example, let's say you had $20,000 that you wanted to stick in the market. Instead of trying to put it all in the market at one time and try to predict the exact bottom of the market, you instead stick $1,000 a week into the market for 20 weeks. And if the market continues to drop, if you continue to buy in, then your average purchase price is going to lower every time that you buy in more. So my personal plan is to start doing this after the markets reached the average drop of the last 2 recessions, which was 45%. Now my gut tells me that the markets are going to drop lower than that, so I really see this as more of an entry point of where I'm going to enter the market, and then I'm going to keep investing every week after that. And I also plan on investing mostly in index funds. Index funds are essentially buckets of stocks. Some of them cover only a specific sector, and some of them are much broader and really represent the entire market. Now, it may be tempting to try to invest a lot of money into a company like Royal Caribbean, which has dropped in value by 80%. But I do want to remind you that we are going to see companies go bankrupt in the next few months. And investing in index funds is far safer than investing in individual companies. If an index fund holds 500 companies within it, and one of them goes bankrupt, it's not going to affect the value of the index fund nearly as much. I also really favor index funds that pay high dividends. A dividend is money that you receive just for holding on to a stock. Some pay out monthly, some pay out quarterly, some pay out yearly, and typically I just have that money automatically invested back into that stock. Owning companies that pay dividends is actually a great strategy during a recession. The reason being is because if you reinvest that money back into buying more shares of that stock, since the stock price is lower, you're going to be acquiring more shares. Now, the amount that you receive in a dividend, it can be cut if the company is not doing very well, but it's not very common for a company to do that. And there's many companies that did not reduce their dividend payout during the last 2 recessions. And this strategy is also very effective if you're using a brokerage that allows you to invest in fractional shares. Let's say a stock costs $100. Instead of you saving up your dividends until you have $100 so you can reinvest and buy another share of that company, with fractional shares, you can immediately reinvest that money back into the company with as little as $1. And now that $1 is also going to start earning you a dividend. So there are a few index funds that I personally plan on investing in the upcoming months. The first one is VOO. This is the Vanguard S&P 500 ETF. And this ETF essentially mimics the S&P 500 by holding on to investments in those exact same 500 companies. So instead of you having to buy shares in all 500 of those companies, you can just invest in VOO and it does it for you. And VOO also pays out a 2.4% dividend. So if you invest $100, you're gonna earn $2.40 on that investment every year. I also really like VYM, which is the Vanguard High Dividend Yield ETF. This is essentially just a collection of reputable companies that pay a higher than average dividend. It's currently paying out a 4.1% dividend a year. And if you're looking for something with a little less risk or maybe to diversify your portfolio, you can also look into BND. This is the Vanguard Total Bond Market ETF. It's currently paying a 2.6% dividend a year. Now, if you do plan on using the dollar cost averaging method, which I recommend, you also really want to use a brokerage that charges $0 in transaction fees. If you plan on investing $100 a week, but your broker charges you $10 for every investment that you make, you're instantly losing 10% of your investment just by investing it. And there's really 3 free brokerages that I'm gonna recommend to you. All of them have their pros and cons. So my favorite right now is M1 Finance, and they've created a completely different approach to investing around this dollar cost averaging strategy. They charge $0 in transaction fees and management fees and allow you to invest in fractional shares. And they also make it incredibly easy to automatically reinvest your dividends, as well as to automatically invest with a recurring schedule. With their system, what you do is you create a pie, which is essentially a bucket full of stocks that you want to invest in. You can then set what percentage of that bucket you want each of those stocks to take up. And you can create multiple pies if you want to invest in different sectors. So let's say you want to invest $100 a week. That $100 would get split up amongst all your pies or buckets of stocks, and you could be buying fractional shares in as many as 20 different companies or even more. So this is a great way to automatically diversify your portfolio. Now, I do have a referral link down below, and if you use it, you and I each get $10 in our brokerage accounts for you signing up, but you can also just go to m1finance.com. So the next brokerage I'm gonna recommend is Robinhood. So Robinhood actually started this whole free brokerage movement back in 2013. They've got a very user-friendly mobile app, and they're still innovating within this space. Recently, they just launched what is essentially a high-yield savings account within your brokerage account. So let's say you didn't want to actually invest in the market yet, you can still transfer the money over into Robinhood and start earning a higher interest rate than what you're probably getting in your own savings account right now. They'll also be launching the ability to purchase fractional shares in the very near future. And once again, I also have a referral link for them down in the description below. If you do use it, you and I each get 1 free stock valued up to $500. So this could be a company like Apple, Microsoft, or Facebook. So the last free brokerage I want to recommend is Webull. And what I like about Webull is they're essentially trying to turn investing into a social experience. So on any given stock, you can vote whether or not you think that stock's going to go up or down. You can also read other users' comments about that stock. You can also ask questions in their discussion forums, and you can earn points on your profile for all of these actions. And what really sets them apart is that they allow for paper trading. So paper trading is essentially them giving you play money that you can invest in stocks with to see how well your strategies would work out. And they also hold competitions with their paper money trading that you can win real money with. And they're actually running a promotion right now that if you use my referral link down below to create an account with them and deposit any amount, they'll give you 4 free stocks valued up to $1,400 each. So my referral links to all 3 of these brokerages are down in the description below. Hey, if you want to learn 10 strategies to pay your mortgage off early, click right here to check out my video on that. And if you want to learn more financial and real estate strategies, subscribe and hit that bell icon to get notified every time I upload a new video. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you guys over in the next video.